Emma Bennett smoothed down her charcoal gray suit as she waited outside the courtroom. 20 years of legal practice had taught her to control her nerves, but today was different. This wasn't just any case, it was personal. The Wilson family had been denied justice for generations, and as their attorney, she carried their hopes on her shoulders. The courthouse was busy that morning. People rushed past with worried faces. Some looked at Emma with curiosity. A black woman in an expensive suit was still not a common sight in this small-town courthouse. Emma checked her watch. Her clients would arrive soon. She had worked on this case for 3 years. The Wilson family deserved to get their land back. Land that had been in their family for generations until it was taken away unfairly. All rise for the Honorable Judge Robert Hamilton, the bailiff announced. Emma's heart sank. Judge Hamilton's reputation was well known. He was harsh on minorities and often dismissed female attorneys. As she rose from her seat, she caught his momentary look of surprise when he saw her walking to the plaintiff's table. "Counselor, state your name for the record," Judge Hamilton drawled, barely looking up from his papers. "Emma Bennett, Your Honor, representing the Wilson family." Judge Hamilton's eyes narrowed as he looked at her. "Ms. Bennett, I see you're new to my courtroom. Things move efficiently here. I suggest you keep your emotional appeals to a minimum." Emma felt her jaw tighten but kept her face calm. "I'm well prepared to present the facts of this case, Your Honor." The courtroom was packed. This case had drawn attention in the small town. The Wilson family sat in the front row. Old Mrs. Wilson, the family matriarch, nodded at Emma with quiet confidence. The opposing lawyer, James Parker, smiled at the judge like they were old friends. Emma had done her research. They were members of the same golf club. "Your Honor," Emma began, "this case is about justice that is long overdue. The Wilson family owned 200 acres of farmland from 1908 until 1963, when it was taken through fraudulent means." Judge Hamilton sighed loudly. "Ms. Bennett, get to the point. We don't need a history lesson." Emma noticed how different his tone was compared to when Parker had spoken minutes earlier. The judge had been all smiles then. "Yes, Your Honor. The point is that we have clear evidence showing the land transfer in 1963 was based on forged documents." Emma tried to show the documents, but Judge Hamilton waved them away. "We'll get to your evidence in due time, Counselor." Throughout the morning, the pattern continued. Every time Emma spoke, Judge Hamilton interrupted her. When she objected to something, he overruled her. When Parker objected, the judge quickly agreed with him. During a break, Mrs. Wilson approached Emma. "He's not giving us a fair chance, is he?" Emma squeezed the elderly woman's hand. "Don't worry. I've faced worse. We have truth on our side." When they returned to the courtroom, Emma noticed something new. A man in an expensive suit had entered and was sitting in the back. She recognized him as William Taylor, head of the State Judicial Review Board. Judge Hamilton saw him too. His face changed for just a moment. Emma stood taller. "Your Honor, I'd like to present Exhibit C, the original deed showing the Wilson family's legal ownership of the property." For the first time that day, Judge Hamilton looked unsure. He glanced at the man in the back of the room. "Proceed, Ms. Bennett," he said, his voice suddenly more respectful. Emma smiled slightly. She hadn't told anyone, but she and William Taylor had been law school classmates. He was here because she had called him last night, concerned about facing Judge Hamilton's courtroom. As Emma presented her evidence, she could feel the tide turning. The truth was powerful, but sometimes it needed help to be heard. Today, she would make sure the Wilson family's truth was not just heard, but respected. Judge Hamilton was now listening carefully to her words. Emma knew the real battle was just beginning, but for the first time that day, she felt they had a fighting chance. The end after lunch, the courtroom filled again. Emma noticed Judge Hamilton seemed different. He kept looking at William Taylor in the back row. His earlier rudeness had changed to careful attention. "Ms. Bennett, please continue with your case," Judge Hamilton said, his voice now respectful. Emma called her first witness. Martha Wilson, the 82-year-old family matriarch, walked slowly to the stand. Her back was straight despite her age. She placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. "Mrs. Wilson, how long has your family lived in this county?" Emma asked. "Since 1880, when my great-grandfather came here after being freed," Martha said. Her voice was soft but clear. "He worked for 28 years to save enough money to buy that land." "And what happened to the land in 1963? Martha's eyes grew sad. "Men came to our house. They said we didn't own the land anymore. They showed papers my father couldn't read well. They said he had signed them, but he never did." James Parker jumped up. "Objection. This is hearsay. She can't know what her father did or didn't sign." "Your Honor," Emma replied, "Mrs. Wilson was present during these events. She was 17 at the time." Judge Hamilton paused. He looked at William Taylor again. "Overruled. The witness may continue." Emma showed Martha the documents. "Do you recognize the signature that supposedly belongs to your father?" Martha put on her glasses and looked carefully. "That is not my father's handwriting. He always made his J with a special loop. This doesn't have that." Emma then showed official documents with her father's real signature. The difference was clear. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter these documents as evidence. They show the signature on the land transfer was forged." For the first time, James Parker looked worried. He whispered to his clients, who frowned and shook their heads. "Ms. Bennett," Judge Hamilton said, "this is compelling evidence. Please continue." Emma's next witness was Thomas Green, a handwriting expert. He confirmed the signatures didn't match. Then she called Robert Wilson, Martha's son. "Mr. Wilson, what happened to your family after losing the land?" "We went from being landowners to working for others," Robert said. "My father had to work 3 jobs. The stress killed him young. We lost our home, our dignity." Parker stood again. "Objection. This is appealing to emotion, not fact." Emma was ready. "Your Honor, the emotional and financial impact is relevant to damages in this case." Judge Hamilton nodded. "Overruled. Continue, Mr. Wilson." During Parker's turn, he called George Whitfield, the developer who now owned most of the Wilson family land. "Mr. Whitfield, did you know the land was obtained through fraud?" Parker asked. "Absolutely not," Whitfield said. "I bought it legally from the bank in 1975. Emma stood for cross-examination. "Mr. Whitfield, are you aware that your father was business partners with Judge Edward Collins, who signed the original transfer order in 1963? Whitfield's face turned red. "That's not relevant." "I think it is," Emma said calmly. She showed a newspaper article from 1962 with a photo of Whitfield's father and Judge Collins breaking ground on another development. They had a pattern of working together to acquire valuable land owned by black families. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Hamilton banged his gavel. "Order." Emma continued, "Mr. Whitfield, did you know your father offered $500 for land worth $50,000 even then?" "I wasn't involved in that," Whitfield insisted. "But you benefit from it today," Emma said. "The Wilson family lost everything, while you've made millions from their land." At the end of the day, Judge Hamilton called both lawyers to his bench. "This case has taken an unexpected turn. I'm ordering a full review of all documents. We'll continue tomorrow." As everyone left, William Taylor approached Emma. "You're doing good work here," he said. "Judge Hamilton knows I'm watching. His record of bias cases is under review." Emma smiled. "I appreciate your support, but this isn't about him or me. It's about the Wilson family getting justice after 60 years of waiting." Martha Wilson hugged Emma as they left. "No matter what happens tomorrow, thank you for making them hear our story." Emma squeezed Martha's hands. "We're not done yet. Tomorrow, we make sure they not only hear it, but finally do something about it. The E&D the next morning, Emma arrived early to prepare. The courthouse steps were crowded with people. News of the case had spread through town. Some held signs supporting the Wilson family. Others looked angry. Emma spotted Martha Wilson talking to reporters. Despite her age, Martha stood tall as she spoke about her family's struggle. "My daddy worked that land with his hands. He grew the best corn in the county. We just want what's rightfully ours." Inside, the courtroom was packed. Judge Hamilton entered looking serious. William Taylor sat in the same spot as yesterday, watching carefully. "Before we begin," Judge Hamilton announced, "I've reviewed the documents submitted yesterday. I'm troubled by what I've found." Emma held her breath. This could go either way. "Mr. Parker," the judge continued, "the signatures on these land transfer documents show clear inconsistencies. Can you explain this?" Parker looked uncomfortable. "Your Honor, these documents are 60 years old. Paper ages, ink fades." "That doesn't explain different handwriting," Judge Hamilton replied. "He seemed like a different person today, fair, thoughtful." Emma called her next witness, an elderly white man named Harold Freeman. The crowd murmured in surprise. Freeman had been the county clerk in 1963. "Mr. Freeman, do you recognize these documents?" Emma asked. Freeman put on thick glasses and examined the papers. "Yes. These came through my office in '63. Did you have concerns about them at the time?" Freeman shifted in his seat. "I did. The signatures didn't match our records. But Judge Collins told me to process them anyway." "And did you question Judge Collins about this?" "I tried. He said it wasn't my business to question. Said the Wilsons were selling to make way for progress." Freeman looked at Martha Wilson. "I'm sorry. I should have done more." During cross-examination, Parker tried to damage Freeman's credibility. "Mr. Freeman, you're 91 years old. How can you remember details from 60 years ago?" Freeman sat up straight. "Some things you don't forget, son. Like watching a good family lose everything they worked for." After Freeman stepped down, Parker called his final witness, an expert who claimed the land had been legally transferred. Emma waited for her turn to question him. "Dr. Adams, how much did Mr. Whitfield pay you for your testimony today?" "Objection!" Parker shouted. "This is inappropriate." "Your Honor," Emma said calmly, "I'm establishing bias." "I'll allow it," Judge Hamilton ruled. "Please answer, Dr. Adams." "My standard fee is $5,000 per day," Adams admitted. "And have you ever testified against a major developer like Mr. Whitfield?" Adams looked down. "No. In fact, haven't you worked exclusively for large development companies in all 20 cases you've testified in?" "I go where the work is," Adams replied weakly. During her closing argument, Emma spoke with passion but kept to the facts. She showed the forged signatures. She explained how Judge Collins had abused his power. She pointed out how the Wilson family had never received fair payment. "Your Honor, this isn't just about land. This is about right and wrong. This is about correcting a 60-year injustice. The law is clear. Property taken through fraud must be returned." Parker's closing emphasized that current owners had bought the land in good faith. "We can't undo 60 years of development because of paperwork irregularities." Judge Hamilton called a 1-hour recess to consider his decision. Emma sat with the Wilson family in the hallway. "Whatever happens," Martha said, "you made them see us as people, not just a case." When court resumed, Judge Hamilton looked solemn. "This case has revealed troubling facts about our county's history. The evidence clearly shows fraud in the 1963 land transfer. Justice demands a remedy." The room went completely silent. However, unwinding 60 years of land development presents challenges. Therefore, I am ordering a full accounting of all profits made from this land since 1963. The Wilson family is entitled to fair compensation plus interest. Martha gasped. Robert Wilson grabbed Emma's hand. Additionally, Judge Hamilton continued, the remaining undeveloped 30 acres will be returned to the Wilson family immediately. Mr. Whitfield's company must pay all legal costs. The courtroom erupted in cheers. Judge Hamilton banged his gavel. Ms. Bennett, please prepare the appropriate orders. This court stands adjourned. Outside, reporters surrounded Emma and the Wilson family. Martha wiped tears from her eyes. My daddy can rest now, she said. Justice was slow, but it finally came. Emma noticed Judge Hamilton watching from the courthouse steps. Their eyes met briefly. He gave her a small, respectful nod before walking away. The end 3 weeks after the trial, Emma sat in her office reviewing the Wilson case documents. The victory still felt fresh. The judge's ruling had made headlines across the state. Some called it a landmark case for addressing historical land theft. Emma's phone rang. It was Judge Hamilton's secretary. Ms. Bennett, Judge Hamilton would like to meet with you this afternoon if you're available. Emma was surprised. Did he say what it's about? No, ma'am. Just that it's important. Emma agreed to the meeting, wondering what the judge wanted. Their last interaction had been professional but distant. At 2 o'clock, Emma entered Judge Hamilton's chambers. He stood to greet her, looking different than he had in court. Older. More tired. Thank you for coming, Ms. Bennett. Please, sit down. Emma sat across from his large desk, noticing family photos she hadn't seen before. A wedding picture. Children in graduation gowns. I wanted to speak with you privately, Judge Hamilton began. First, to commend you on your excellent work in the Wilson case. You showed remarkable skill and integrity. Thank you, Your Honor. That means a lot. Judge Hamilton looked down at his hands. I also owe you an apology. My conduct at the beginning of that trial was unprofessional. Emma hadn't expected this. I appreciate that, Your Honor. Please, call me Robert when we're not in court. He sighed deeply. I've been a judge for 30 years. I've prided myself on being fair. But your friend from the Judicial Review Board showed me something concerning. He handed Emma a folder. Inside were statistics about his rulings, broken down by race and gender. The numbers were clear, he had consistently ruled against minorities and women at higher rates. I never saw myself this way, he said quietly. I told myself I was following the law, being objective. The numbers tell a different story. Emma set down the folder. Recognition is the first step toward change. That's why I asked you here. Judge Hamilton leaned forward. I'm creating a committee to review bias in our county courts. I'd like you to lead it. Emma was stunned. Me? Wouldn't that be controversial? Extremely. Judge Hamilton actually smiled. That's precisely why it needs to be you. You have the courage to speak truth to power. You did it to me, and I'm better for it. Emma thought about the offer. It would mean challenging the entire system that had protected people like Judge Hamilton for decades. What about the other judges? The Bar Association? Some will resist. Others will support us. William Taylor has already pledged resources from the State Judicial Review Board. Emma nodded slowly. I'd want Martha Wilson on the committee. People with lived experience of the problems we're addressing. I think that's an excellent idea. As they discussed the details, Emma realized something profound was happening. The system that had failed the Wilson family might actually be changing from within. Later that day, Emma drove to the Wilson property. The 30 acres returned to them sat on a hill overlooking the town. Martha and several family members were there, planning where to rebuild their family home. Emma parked and walked up the dirt path. Martha waved her over. We're going to plant an orchard here, Martha said, pointing to a sunny slope. And there, by that old oak tree, that's where the new house will go. It's beautiful land, Emma said. My great-grandfather chose well. Martha smiled. Oh, I have something to show you. She led Emma to her car and took out an old wooden box. Inside was a yellow document, the original deed to the property, signed in 1908. We kept this all these years, Martha said. Even when they took our land, we kept the deed. We never lost hope. Emma carefully touched the fragile paper. This belongs in a museum. Someday, perhaps. But first, we frame it and hang it in our new home. Emma told Martha about Judge Hamilton's proposal and the committee. He wants you to be part of it. Your voice needs to be heard. Martha thought for a moment. 6 weeks ago, that man wouldn't even look me in the eye. Now he wants my opinion? She chuckled. People can surprise you. As the sun began to set, the Wilson family gathered on their land. They joined hands in a circle, for generations standing together on soil that was finally theirs again. Emma stood slightly apart, watching. Robert Wilson motioned for her to join them. Your family now, he said. Emma stepped into the circle, taking Martha's hand on one side and Robert's on the other. As they stood together, Emma realized that true justice wasn't just about winning in court. It was about healing, restoration, and building a better future together. The end 1 year later, Emma stood on the steps of the newly renamed Justice Center. The old courthouse sign had come down last week. Today was the official dedication ceremony. A large crowd had gathered. Emma spotted familiar faces, the Wilson family front and center, Judge Hamilton standing with other judges, William Taylor from the Judicial Review Board, and many families whose cases had been reviewed by Emma's committee. Martha Wilson sat in a place of honor near the podium. At 83, she had become a symbol of perseverance. Her story had inspired others to come forward with similar cases of land theft and judicial bias. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor announced, please welcome Emma Bennett, chair of the County Justice Reform Committee. Emma approached the microphone. The crowd applauded warmly. 1 year ago, many of these same people had barely acknowledged her in the courthouse halls. Thank you all for coming today, Emma began. When we started this journey, many people told me change was impossible. Systems that have worked one way for hundreds of years don't change overnight, they said. Emma looked at Martha Wilson, who nodded encouragingly. But they were wrong. In 1 year, our committee has reviewed over 200 cases where bias may have affected the outcome. 43 families have received new hearings. 17 have had property returned or received fair compensation. The crowd applauded again. Emma had worked tirelessly, often staying up late reviewing old case files, looking for patterns of injustice. This work isn't about blame, Emma continued. It's about healing. Judge Robert Hamilton showed tremendous courage in being the first to examine his own rulings and admit the patterns he found there. Judge Hamilton nodded solemnly from his seat. Today, we rename this building the Justice Center because that's what we commit to, providing justice for all, regardless of race, gender, or wealth. The old ways are ending. After the ceremony, people mingled on the courthouse lawn. The Wilson family had set up tables with food from their land, fresh vegetables from their new garden, apple pie made from their young orchard's first small harvest. Emma found herself standing with Judge Hamilton, watching Martha Wilson tell stories to a group of law students who had volunteered with the committee. She's quite a woman, Judge Hamilton said. Hard to believe I almost dismissed her testimony the first day. We've all grown since then, Emma replied. Some more than others. Judge Hamilton smiled ruefully. Did I tell you I'm retiring next month? Emma looked surprised. No. Is this because of the committee's work? Partly. But mainly because it's time for new voices on the bench. I've recommended you as my replacement. Emma nearly dropped her glass of lemonade. Me? A judge? Who better? You know the law, you have integrity, and you've seen firsthand how justice should and shouldn't work. Before Emma could respond, Martha Wilson joined them. Are you telling her about the judgeship? About time we had someone like Emma wearing those robes. Judge Hamilton laughed. Nothing stays secret in this town. Not anymore, Martha agreed. Secrets were how they kept us down all those years. Later, Emma walked with Martha across the town square to where the Wilson family had parked. The new Wilson family home was nearly complete on their return land. It would house 3 generations under one roof. If you become a judge, Martha said, will you still come to Sunday dinners? Try and stop me, Emma replied. Your grandson's sweet potato pie is the best in the county. Martha stopped walking and turned to Emma. You know, when we first met, I just wanted our land back. I never imagined all this. She gestured toward the Justice Center. You didn't just help my family. You're changing things for everyone. We're changing things together, Emma corrected. Your courage started it all. As they reached Martha's car, Robert Wilson approached with exciting news. The family's application for a historical marker had been approved. Soon, a plaque would stand at the entrance to their property, telling the story of their great-grandfather who bought the land, the injustice of 1963, and the restoration of 2025. The marker company asked for a quote to put at the bottom, Robert said. We all agreed on what it should say. He showed Emma the design. At the bottom of the plaque were the words, "Justice may be delayed, but with courage and persistence, it cannot be denied." Emma felt tears in her eyes as she read it. Perfect, she said. As the Wilson family drove home to their land and Emma walked back to her office, they all carried the same feeling that after generations of struggle, something fundamental had finally changed. Not just a piece of land returned or a courthouse renamed, but a community beginning to heal from old wounds and build something better together. The end.